Hey there, crypto family. Welcome back. It's so good to see you again. I hope you're having an absolutely amazing day, no matter where you are around the world right now. All right, let's dive right into XRP because things are getting interesting. Looking at our daily chart here, we're sitting pretty at $2.20. And guess what? XRP has been flexing in the green for most of today. I love to see it. Now, here's where it gets really exciting. When we zoom out to the weekly view, we're actually back to where we were before that crazy dip happened. Pretty wild, right? So the big question everyone's asking is, where do we go from here? Now, you've got two camps of people. Some folks are super bullish and saying, this is it, we're heading straight up. But then you've got others who think we might see one more crash before the real breakout happens. And honestly, it all comes down to what our big brother Bitcoin decides to do next. But I've got to say, it feels pretty good seeing XRP back above that $2.20 level again. Check this out. On the monthly chart, this could actually be our low point. And what we're seeing now might be a higher low. If that's the case, we could be looking at continued upward momentum from here. Fingers crossed, am I right? Speaking of Bitcoin, it's also been showing some serious strength today. We're back above 93K. It really looks like Bitcoin is starting to find its footing again and gain some momentum. But here's the thing that's been driving me crazy this entire cycle. Every single time it looked like, this is the moment. This is when everything takes off. Something comes out of nowhere and brings Bitcoin right back down. So the million-dollar question is that going to happen again? Honestly, nobody has that crystal ball. And I think that's exactly why there's so much uncertainty floating around in the markets right now. Okay, let's take a look at something really telling. The Fear and Greed Index just jumped up to 22. Now that's movement in the right direction. But here's the reality check. Most people out there are still absolutely terrified about where this market is headed. But you know what? As someone who's been holding XRP through thick and thin, I'm not sweating it one bit. I mean, zero fear here. Why? Because I know, and I mean I know, this cryptocurrency is going to absolutely explode. It's not a matter of if, it's purely a matter of when. Now, can anyone tell you exactly when that's going to happen? Nope, nobody has that magic timeline. But I'll tell you what I'm hoping for. I'm really crossing my fingers that we see this breakout begin before we close out December. That would be one heck of a Christmas gift, wouldn't it? So here's the big question that everyone's been asking me. Was that Bitcoin jump just a fake breakout? And honestly, that's got people scratching their heads right now. A ton of folks are convinced that the big players are just going to yank this market right back down again. We're talking market manipulation, coordinated moves, all that behind-the-scenes stuff that makes us regular traders feel like we're playing a rigged game. And that's exactly why I keep saying retail investors like us are sitting in this crazy, uncertain position right now. Meanwhile, the institutions and major exchanges, they're basically pulling all the strings in this market. They're the ones calling the shots. Here's what's really wild, though. Most of that retail money that used to be in Bitcoin, it's already moved on to other things. And get this, even those legendary OG Bitcoin holders, the ones who were smart enough to buy way back in 2009 and 2010, even they are starting to cash out and jump ship. So who's filling that void? You guessed it. The big institutions are rolling in with their massive war chests, and they're completely changing the game as we know it. And that's exactly what we're dealing with right now. Crypto had a pretty rough autumn, didn't it? So the question on everyone's mind is, are we going to have an equally brutal winter? There are people out there who genuinely think we're going to be stuck in this crypto winter forever. Like we're never going to see that explosive breakout we've all been waiting for. But think about it this way. It's like we've been sitting here all year long, waiting for alt season to finally kick off, and it still hasn't happened yet. That's incredibly frustrating, I get it. But here's what I believe is really going on. Everything is just delayed. I honestly think alt season should have started already. We should be in the thick of it by now. But look, we've seen delay after delay after delay throughout this entire cycle. It's like everything is operating on a completely different timeline than what we're used to. And that's exactly why everyone keeps saying the traditional 4-year cycle is completely broken at this point. The old playbook? It's basically been thrown out the window, and we're all trying to figure out these new market rhythms. So Peter Brandt calls XRP holders the most obsessed permabulls on earth. You know what though? He's not wrong. And here's exactly why we're so passionate about this. We all see what's coming down the pipeline. We can see what XRP was specifically built to accomplish, and we had that vision early on to understand where this thing would be in the future. But guess what? That future isn't some distant dream anymore. It's literally unfolding right before our eyes. Just look at everything Ripple has been doing lately, all those strategic acquisitions and partnerships. But it goes way beyond just what Ripple is up to. Check out what entire countries are doing now. We're seeing XRP treasuries being created by nations. Then you've got all these ETFs that are absolutely on fire. Money is pouring in every single day like we've never seen before. But wait, it gets even better. The whole world is getting fed up with the outdated SWIFT system. Everyone's desperately looking for an alternative, something that can handle real-time payments that are lightning fast, dirt cheap, and rock-solid secure. Sound familiar? That's literally exactly what XRP was designed from the ground up to do. And here's the kicker. There's still this massive liquidity crisis hanging over the banks like a dark cloud. Basel III regulations are hitting next month. And guess what solves that problem too? You got it, XRP. Look, we'll always be bullish on XRP because once you truly understand what this cryptocurrency is about to do in the real world, how could you possibly not want to stay excited about it? It's like seeing the future and knowing you're holding a piece of it.
All right, let's talk XRP price predictions. So there's this headline floating around. Singapore approves Ripple for bank settlements. Can XRP 100x from here? Now here's what's funny about this article. It doesn't actually talk about XRP doing a 100x at all. It's literally just reporting the awesome news that came out of Singapore about Ripple getting approved for bank settlements. But that 100x part? That's pure clickbait, my friends. That said, I've been seeing tons of people saying XRP is going to pull a 100x during this bull run. And you know what? I'm right there with them. I believe it could happen. But here's the real question. What would we actually need to see for XRP to achieve that incredible 100x? I think the first thing we'd need is serious scarcity to kick in. But if scarcity isn't the main driver, then we've got to look at the bigger picture. Regulatory clarity finally coming through, massive institutional adoption ramping up, and then you throw tokenization into the mix as well. In my opinion, it's going to take the perfect storm, a combination of all these factors working together, for XRP to actually pull off that 100x move. But here's something to remember. Back in 2017, nobody was expecting those crazy prices either. And look what happened. So maybe, just maybe, XRP will surprise us all and deliver that 100x this time around. Would I absolutely love to see that happen? You bet. And I'm sure every single one of you watching would be over the moon too. But let's be realistic here. Let's first get to that $10 mark and then see where the momentum takes us from there. So there's this market watcher who's making some pretty bold predictions. He's saying that Wave 5 is going to launch XRP into 2 digits. We're talking around $12. But here's the kicker. He's calling this a conservative estimate. And you know what? I'm totally on board with that thinking. I genuinely believe we're going to fly way higher than $12. In fact, when you look at most of the technical analysis experts out there, the chart wizards who really know their stuff, they're almost all calling for at least $27 for XRP. That's more than double what this conservative estimate is suggesting. But here's where things get really exciting. When you factor in everything else that's been happening with XRP lately, it's like all the stars are aligning at once. We're seeing catalyst after catalyst lining up in this incredibly short time frame. That's exactly why I think we could actually hit 3 digits. And I'm talking about $100 or more. Now, do I think that's going to happen before we close out 2025? Probably not, if I'm being realistic about the timeline. However, and this is where I get really excited, I absolutely believe it could happen in early 2026. We're potentially looking at just over a year away from some absolutely life-changing price action. Okay, this is pretty exciting. So I actually reached out to 21 Shares directly about their XRP ETF launch. And guess what? They actually responded to me personally. Here's exactly what they told me. We are waiting for the SEC to declare us effective. Please wait for the announcement from our official socials. So basically, what this means is that the 21 Shares Spot XRP ETF isn't going live until the SEC gives them that final green light and declares them effective. Now, I'm really hoping this happens over the next couple of days because let's be honest, there are so many other ETFs we're all sitting here waiting for. But here's what's got everyone really buzzing. Everybody in the space is betting that 21 Shares is going to be the absolute biggest and most impactful of them all when it finally drops. And speaking of good news, there's this analyst who's saying something pretty interesting. XRP is at the point where it's basically refusing to go any lower. That's a pretty bullish signal if you ask me.
Okay, I have no idea why they worded it like that, refusing to go more down. But hey, we get what they're trying to say, right? So basically what this analyst is telling us is that $1.98 has become our new support level. In other words, XRP isn't going to drop below $1.98 anymore. And honestly, I'm totally agreeing with that analysis. Here's why. every single time XRP has dipped below that $2 mark recently, what happens? It immediately bounces right back above $2 again, and I mean fast. Like, we're talking lightning-quick rebounds. So yeah, I'm looking at $1.98 as our solid support floor right now. But here's where things could get interesting. If Bitcoin decides to absolutely crater, which a lot of people are expecting could happen, then we might still see XRP go even lower than that support level. In a worst-case scenario, I think we could potentially drop all the way back down to around $1.80, which is where we set that very first low. That would basically be us revisiting that original bottom before this whole run-up started. But here's the thing. If we did drop that low, I'd expect to see a lightning-fast rebound from there. Now, there's this headline going around. XRP faces now or never moment as traders rally to $2.50. What they're basically saying is, if XRP doesn't make its move right now, we're looking at another frustrating delay and a possible drop back down to that $1.80 level again. But wait a minute, if that $1.98 support really holds strong, which I genuinely believe it's become a solid support zone now, then how exactly are we supposed to go below that level anyway? And here's the reality check. It all comes down to what our big brother Bitcoin decides to do next. Because let's face it, we're still dancing to Bitcoin's rhythm. I keep seeing people predict that Bitcoin is going to crash all the way back down to just under 80K before it goes on that massive rocket ship ride upward. But here's the truth. Nobody actually knows that for sure. Everyone is just speculating at this point because this market has become absolutely unpredictable. There's so much fear floating around out there right now, and people are just feeding into that fear like crazy. That's exactly why you keep seeing all these doom and gloom articles about crypto winter this and crypto winter that. It's all about what's trending and getting clicks right now. That's honestly how I look at all this noise in the media. And honestly, almost every single article out there is saying the exact same thing now. History is about to repeat itself. This wave is exactly the same as 2017. The chart is identical. The structure is identical. Even the overall vibe feels the same. I'm putting this out there again, guys. Don't say I didn't warn you when the time comes. So when you look at this chart comparison, they're saying we're sitting right at the bottom, just like we were back in 2017. And that's exactly where I think we are right now. I believe XRP just went through a natural correction once we got that pro-crypto administration in the White House. But here's the kicker. I don't think the real run has even started for XRP yet. So if we break out from down here instead of up where a lot of people think we already are, we're going to end up going astronomically higher than anyone expects. I'm seeing people throw around predictions like $150 to $200 for XRP. Now, are we actually going to hit those insane levels? Like I always say, let's get past $10 first and then see where the momentum takes us from there. But here's what's absolutely mind-blowing when you compare 2017 to 2025. Back in 2017, we had basically nothing going for us. It was pure hype and speculation, plus maybe the possibility of a Coinbase listing. That's it. Fast forward to 2025, and we've got an absolute powerhouse lineup behind us. ETFs pumping in institutional money, massive players entering the space, regulatory clarity finally coming out of Washington in the short term. Plus, and this is huge, you've got tons of people who bought XRP along the way and never sold a single token. So there could actually be way less XRP in circulation than people realize. If the exchanges start running out of XRP supply, it's absolutely game time. We're talking about XRP hitting some absolutely insane numbers lightning fast. That could easily rocket us above 589, maybe even hit that $1,000 mark that Jake Claver keeps talking about. And honestly, I think his prediction is spot on, but I think his timeline might be a little aggressive. He's saying this is going to happen by the end of this year. If it does happen, I'm thinking it's more likely early next year. However, I do think we could see the beginnings of this epic run-up starting to build momentum as we head into next year. So I definitely wouldn't count December out just yet. We might be in for quite the ride. We could absolutely still have an incredibly bullish December for XRP. But like I mentioned at the start of this video, it feels so good seeing XRP back up around that $2.20 level because we've completely erased that entire dip. We're right back on track to where we were at the end of November. It's like that scary drop never even happened. So here's what I'm watching for. Let's see if we keep pushing upward from here. If we have another strong green day tomorrow, I'm going to be saying, all right, this looks like it's about to begin. But if we start slipping back down again, then we're most likely looking at another frustrating delay before the real breakout hits. Here's what we all know for certain though. That breakout is absolutely positively coming. Nobody can tell you exactly when it's going to start, and honestly, it's going to come completely out of nowhere. You're literally just going to wake up one morning, check your phone, and XRP is going to be absolutely ripping higher. And when that moment comes, it's going to be the most euphoric feeling ever. Trust me on that. But until that magical day happens, we've got to stay patient and stay positive. We're all going to get through this together and come out winning on the other side. All right, everyone, that's going to wrap up today's video. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching and being part of this amazing community. I genuinely appreciate all of you more than you know. I'll catch you in the next video, and until then, have an absolutely fantastic night.